There are few people that have had a bigger impact on the comic book industry than that of Frederick Werthless, despite the fact that he never created a comic book himself. His book, Seduction of the Innocent, led comics to become enemy number one, nearly killing the industry and eventually leading to the comic book code of authority. Harold Schechter and Eric Powell's Dr. Werthless takes a look at the man behind the book to better understand who he was and what led him to target comics in the first place. It is hard to ignore the irony of a comic book being made about Dr. Frederick Werthless considering the history. Now, if you think this was going to be a fantasy takedown of a man that nearly killed comics, you'd be mistaken. This is not a tabloid hit piece disguised as a biography. It is an honest look at a historic figure that may be more complex than you realize. Werthless certainly had his faults. He was often despised by his fellow students and doctors and struggled to find work early in his career. Yet at the same time, he had a level of humanity about him that is rarely discussed. He would treat his patients, no matter their history, crime, or sexual orientation, as people first rather than subjects to be studied, which was rare at the time. Also demonstrates that some of his criticisms of comics were fully justified, such as the racist depictions that were prevalent at the time. Biographies can often come off as glorified clip shows rather than actual stories. One way this avoids that is with the use of parallel storytelling. Alongside Wertham's story, we get the story of the werewolf, a truly terror of a man that lived a life that even the most despicable horror villain would find appalling. At first, it's not clear why we're shifting focus, but eventually, these storylines do converge. Harold Schechter and Eric Powell both co-wrote this, with Powell also providing the artwork. I'm a big fan of his and his style as it fits well into genre stories and horror tales, and it certainly has its influences all the way back to EC Comic Legends, and considering the subject matter here, that just adds in an additional level of irony. It is a blend of classic pulp illustration, grotesque horror, and exaggerated cartooning, which makes his character work very distinct, which fits well into a story biography where faces play such a vital role. Dr. Werthless does what a good biography should, using finely crafted story techniques to provide insight into a person that had a major impact on the world. Some comic book fans may be disappointed that comics are not the sole focus here, but I think that's the right call to better reflect who Werthless was as a person. Was he a hero? Was he a villain? He was no Captain America, but he was also no Red Skull. This provides fascinating insight into one of the most important storylines in the history of comics.